Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Meri Crowley, just getting over a hoarse voice. So we're going to still continue to move and push past this. As you guys all know, we've been in a storm, and that's the whole secret of this thing, is to never quit. And on my call today, I have an amazing pastor and a friend, Pastor Artur Pawlowski, who's the pastor of Street Church up in Canada. And he's got a new book called Lions Don't Bow. And we're going to be talking about this amazing story about how he would not step down and bow to what the tyrants were doing up in the Canada with Trudeau and a number of these other things that happened. And now we need to continue to press in and stay the course. But today's program is sponsored by MyPillow. They have an amazing Christmas extravaganza. If you haven't got your Christmas gifts, which I haven't yet, please go and visit mypillow.com. But let's roll that commercial, please.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Yeah, go to mypillow.com and you put my promo code, which is Meri, M-E-R-I, right in the middle of America, and you'll get a significant discount. It's not only going to help me, but it will really help Mike Lindell, because he was shut out of all the big box stores, for his stance on the country and President Trump. So let's bless him. Thank you. Well, anyway, Pastor Artur, it's good to see you. How have you been?
Thank you so much for having me back on your show. Well, with me, if you have missed 1 week in Artur Pawlowski's life, I need another book. I will have to write a book every single week. Crazy things, of course, as you know, we are truly living behind the Iron Curtain, under the boots of the Chinese this time in China, as I call it. Our beloved country has fallen. However, there are good things happening, and I already see the new administration that is going to be sworn in, pushing back on the communism and socialism in Canada. So there is a good news. I remember, Meri, when God was sending me to USA, and I've heard him clearly, and he told me, first of all, when I was in that jail cell with my brother David, he told me, go to America and warn them. And that was years ago. So I kept coming. That's where we've met. And I remember that God told me this thing that really shook me. And I'm still shaken to this day what he thinks of you. He said, tell this great American eagle that it's time for that eagle to rise up once again and start flapping its wings. And when I've heard that, and to this day, I feel his presence when I'm sharing this with you, because he calls you the great American eagle. And he says, you've done it before, and I need you to do this again, to rise up, stand up for what's right, and push the wannabe pharaohs away from our countries. And it's time for action. Flap your wings. It's time to do something. Well, as you know, I have been traveling and going in and out. I was arrested multiple times. And when we saw each other last time, I was arrested stepping out of the plane. As you remember, after my 4 months of speaking tour, I was charged criminally for inciting people to come to church, officiating an illegal gathering, participating in illegal gathering, not wearing a muzzle, even having a church outdoors and baptizing my daughter in a river. I mean, insanity, insanity, insanity. I was in and out of prison, arrested, charged, over 40 or 50 charges. And then for those that do not know, They came with a vengeance after my Get Out Nazi video that went around the world. As you remember, I was told over 1 billion people watched that video, and the government came cracking down. I had anti-terrorists. I was arrested by RCMP. RCMP is like your FBI. I was arrested by them multiple times. Going to a rally, coming out, arrested in a highway, arrested in the rain, arrested on my knees, arrested stepping out of the plane, arrested after attending a peaceful assembly with my brother David. My brother David was arrested with me, Meri, 12 times. And my son Nathaniel, as you know, was also arrested, detained multiple times for simply speaking and fighting for his father's life when I could not go because I was under the gun for about 2 years, imprisoned and on house arrest. When I was released, I was invited to testify in Brussels, in front of the European Parliament, and I could not go. Canadian government would not allow me to travel. My son went with my wife. Upon arrival, he did such a good job that upon arrival he was detained, and that already happened 5 times. Every single time my son comes to Calgary, he's being detained, and now they are claiming it's a computer error because after I spent $50,000 in legal fees, I hired a criminal lawyer to fight this. They say, well, it's a computer error. There's nothing we can do about it. I mean, this is what I remember growing up behind the Iron Curtain in Poland under the boots of the Soviets. So it's a repetition of history for me. However, we are fighting, we're pushing. We had some setback in the past few weeks. I've lost my appeal. Remember, I gave a sermon to the truckers and farmers on a private property. I said a few words to a peaceful assembly. 3 times I told the people, hurting Canadians, stand for God and state given right, but do it peacefully. No guns, no swords. There is more of us than of them. I reminded them about solidarity movement and what I saw growing up, how powerful we the people. And again, we're always going back to the same thing. We the people. We the people, we are the power. We the people, we can turn this around. We the people can tell those people that's supposed to protect our rights to back off, or else we will replace you with those that are willing to work for us because we pay your salary. So fast forward, as you know, I was imprisoned, metal cages. They kept me in metal cages. I was in solitary confinement. I was I was, I mean, I'll have to talk for hours and hours about the treatment. I was kidnapped by sheriffs, arrested like El Chapo of Calgary by every force in the land, anti-terrorist, special SWAT team, RCMP, detectives, undercover police, Calgary uniform police, interrogated for hours, stripped naked, solitary confinement, concrete cells, metal cages, kidnapped to MaxPot for the most dangerous terrorists in the country, spent a week in psych ward without the evaluation of the doctors, without even the knowledge of Alberta Health Services. But all of that, Meri, all of that was happening. Now I know. At that time, I was not so sure. I was hurting. My body was hurting. 5 inmates testified to my lawyers that the guards were giving them incentives to murder me in prison. So at that time, when I was suffering or when I was in a fire, if you will, I questioned God's wisdom, if you will. God, I hope you know what you're doing because they really want to murder me. And as you know, they lit my house on fire. They lit our church on fire. They burned down our children's bus down, broke into our church, stole our equipment, stole speakers, cameras, unscrewed tire in my pickup truck. I was physically attacked. I had Antifa in my backyard in our home. Antifa sent us a message that I will be assassinated. I mean, I can go on and on and on for days. And that's why I wrote the book. Here is a cool part of the story, Meri, which is a fascinating story, even when I'm sharing it with people, that in a way, it's thanks to the villains. It's thanks to them that they've allowed me, they locked me like an animal in a solitary confinement, that I had time to pen this book, because I'm a very busy man, just like you. We're doing so much. We're traveling around. We're plowing the field, the ground, putting the seeds everywhere we go, waiting with anticipation for the greatest harvest that this earth has ever seen. So we're busy. I am a pastor of two churches. I feed thousands of people on the streets of Calgary. I pastor a regular church where I teach theology and history. I mean, we're busy. I organize different, festivals and marches for Jesus. We just had March for Justice in our capital that we organized. So all those different things keep me occupied. And I remember when people were coming to me and they said, Pastor, you need to write a book about all of your stories. You have to write a book. And I joked with them, be careful when you joke, be careful because God is not deaf. I said, well, I guess I will have to be imprisoned to have time to write a book. And I think God was listening to this and he says, okay, fine, I will arrange that. and he,
Well, and just to interject, that's what, the Apostle Paul, he wrote most of the New Testament in jail. As you know, he didn't really probably want to be locked up, but God allowed him to be locked up so he could write most of the New Testament. So anyway, what a story. Well, it's so interesting because, Trudeau was just down at Mar-a-Lago.
yeah.
And explain a little bit about what happened with Trudeau being down at Mar-a-Lago.
I mean, I just absolutely love your president, your rightful president, Donald J. Trump, and of course his new administration. There's a lots of good people that he is putting in charge of making America great again and godly again. So Donald Trump is a very unique individual. He is, a category of his own. And I said to my wife, I knew it. It's just a matter of time when he is going to start poking because he knows he has the information. He knows what this totalitarian regime is doing on a global scale and what those people are doing to Canadians. And it's fascinating because our administration, the liberals, which I call them the Nazis, and the NDP, which is a communist, socialist, Marxist party, and the traitors, the conservative party, they're like your rhinos in America. They hate Trump with a passion. I mean, they absolutely despise Donald J. Trump. And I knew that the moment he is going to win, they're going to crawl and run around like cockroaches and rats in fear. So the first thing this wannabe pharaoh, our own domestic, terrorist, son of the Castro, the moment Donald J. Trump was elected, he runs to Mar-a-Lago with his tail between his legs, begging for mercy. I mean, that's what it was, Mary. Don't kid yourself. He was there because Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, knows what kind of crime those people have committed. He has goods on them. He knows. I mean, all of the people, out of all of the people around the world, he knows how guilty those people are. So I find it fascinating because his move was brilliant. If it comes to tariffs and letting the Canadian wannabe tyrants know, you want to play I want to be a pharaoh game. Well, I'll show you who is the real king here and who has the real power. And it drives them nuts, Mary. They are talking about this to this day. The mainstream media propaganda agents, the politicians, they're all like, how dare he? Well, he dares because you people are wackos, because you are evil, wicked. If I was the king, those so-called politicians, the servants of the people, in quote, would be charged with treason. So the treatment they're getting from Donald J. Trump is very mild, in my opinion. But he said to him, "Well, if the tariffs are too bad for you, and you think this is a rotten deal, well, you can become the 51st state, and you will be the governor of a state of Canada." It's like if Trudeau was a real leader, he's not. But if he was a real leader, Donald J. Trump would never ever say those words. But because
Right.
Trudeau Castro is a traitor to democracy, he's a traitor to what is good and just, he's a traitor to the Canadian people, Donald J. Trump is sending a message. That's what it was. It was a message which he repeated again. And that's what I
Well,
have been doing.
let me ask you something, Pastor Archer. You talked about Trudeau Castro. I know what you mean by that, but for some people listening, what do you mean by calling him Trudeau Castro?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that Justin Trudeau grew up in a very dysfunctional family. The father was a womanizer, women left and right, doing horrible things. And then the mother, Margaret, was a drunkard. She ended up in a mental institution. We're talking about a woman that was so loose that she was sleeping left and right with every monkey that was not running on the tree. And that was a very well known story of the father, so called Pierre Trudeau, which was the Prime Minister of Canada at that time, having three women upstairs, sleeping with them, having orgies, and then downstairs the kids with the mother. Margaret was preparing dinner, and those are the known stories. Of course, there are unknown stories as well. And Margaret was a very loose woman. She was traveling around, sleeping with men, and one of those men was Fidel Castro. And then after her visit with Fidel Castro in Cuba, a little Justin was born, and she visited Fidel Castro again when Justin was, I think, about 2 years old. And he literally took the boy and showed it to the people like a proud father that would show, like the Lion's King kind of a scenery, when Fidel Castro showed little Justin to the whole world, to his people. Here, behold my son Justin. So we know, of course, when you look at the pictures of young Fidel Castro and when you compare them to Justin Trudeau, I mean, they are like brothers. They are so identical. They are, family. I mean, there is you would really have to be blind not to see how the same they are. And it's a very well known story. I mean, in the end of the day, only God knows and they know. I don't really care. Telling you the truth, he acts like a Castro son, and either he is or not, it doesn't matter to me. He is doing what Castro was doing, which is destruction of his nation and enslavement of his people. Also, Justin Trudeau said it multiple times, and it's recorded. It's not a conspiracy theory, if you will, that he adores, he loves Chinese dictatorship because they can do things swiftly. So it's a very open thing. His brother, Justin's brother, worked for Chinese government in a capacity of a propaganda. He wrote a book for them. He did movies for the Chinese government. So the family is in bed with China for many decades. Going back to what is happening right now, I think Donald J. Trump, your president, is sending a message. He's not going to put up with the Chinese soldiers like we have right now in Canada being trained by the Canadian soldiers on our soil. He's not going to put up with the police stations, which we have right now, Chinese police stations that are pressuring Chinese Canadians how to vote. All of that is happening in China right now. And I said, as you remember, when I traveled in US, I was telling American people that you are so focused on the southern border, you have to pay attention to the northern border because your enemy is being trained and you might be stabbed from both ends. And of course, that's exactly what is happening. I don't know if you have been paying attention, but your border patrols caught hundreds of known terrorists crossing the borders from Canada to United States. They caught what, 360 of them? How many thousands they didn't? And that's the question. So you are being stabbed already from both ends, and that's why Donald J. Trump knows what is really going on, and he's just sending a message. Going
Right.
back to
Well, and I just want to briefly interject. I know Tom Homan, now who was appointed as the new border czar or the director of ICE, and actually spoke at an event down in McAllen, Texas, with General Flynn, Colonel Alan West, and Tom Homan, which I know they're going to be very serious about getting rid of these illegals, which is something we need to do. But listen, we're halfway through the show today, so we're going to roll another commercial of the second sponsor of our show, Dr. Christina Rahm and the Root Brands. In fact, with the bioweapon that, many people had taken, but even those who didn't take it, there's something called Clean Slate that can literally get rid of the graphene oxide in your blood and literally help you get rid of any of the toxins. So let's roll that commercial, please.
Hi, my name is Dr. Christina Rahm. I'm a scientist, I'm a formulator, and I'm a mother. Years ago, I had cancer, and I've continued to have issues with cancer. I also have had Lyme's disease, and I've had my family struggle with everything from Alzheimer's disease to cancer to different types of autoimmune disorders. So as a scientist, I've always looked for solutions. One of the best things I think I've ever created is a formula called Clean Slate. After years of working in the pharmaceutical industry, I really wanted a natural thing that could help people. I wanted something that could go into people's bodies and really tear apart and eradicate the heavy metals and toxins and get rid of the things that people don't need. People brush their teeth every day. People take baths. They wash their hair. They put on makeup. But what is happening on the inside of your body? On the inside of your body, there's all kinds of heavy metals and pollutants and environmental toxins like viral particles, bacteria, different types of parasites and fungus. I really needed something that could tear that apart in the body and safely remove it from the body, and at the same time, help heal and protect and provide. That's where Clean Slate came in. This is a natural product. It has vitamins, it has trace minerals, and it has different things that go into the body so that you can clean the inside of your body, so you can support your body. I never claim to cure anything, but I do say this. The formulas that I work on are here to not just help my family, but to also help yours, and not just help people in the country that I live in, but people throughout the world. I made it with my children in mind, and it's something that I think will help your families as well.
Yeah, if you go to therootbrands.com /now is the time, you can purchase it. I would suggest getting the Trinity pack. I take the Clean Slate every day, and I know it really does work because Pastor Artur, as we travel on these planes and around the country, a lot of people took this bioweapon jab and they're shedding. So, I mean, people didn't think, well, I didn't take it, but then they're around people. So it's really in everybody's bloodstreams, in the air, in the food, in the water, you know what I mean? So we have to be on guard against this. So anyway, sorry for that little commercial break. But Pastor Artur, we've been under siege on all ends. And you wrote this book, Lions Do Not Bow. And, you were just talking about all these different things. So when did the book come out? I know I just saw you in October in North Carolina, where you were at the Reawaken America event. Lions Do Not Bow. I know you've been traveling all over. So, how many, they can go onto Amazon and get this book? And can they also get it on your website, or is it the best place to go to Amazon?
Well, I always want the people to get a cheapest option, and the cheapest option for the people in America is Amazon.com. Amazon.com, Lions Do Not Bow. And here is why it's important for the people to help in this capacity, because Canadian government and every totalitarian government is doing always the same thing. And again, I've told you before the break that I grew up in a system like this, and I have seen this movie before. It's not like I read the book and I'm educating people on communism and socialism or fascism. I grew up in Poland. I have tasted of those regimes myself. So the enemy is always fighting in a very similar way, which is lawfare, attacking your supplies, trying to destroy you, not only physically but psychologically, spiritually, and they always attack your money. They attack your bank account. They attack your ability to function, to fight back. Lawyers are absolutely crazy expensive. Courts are astronomical numbers. And you got to remember, I have been charged over 350 times, over 120 court cases, many courts of appeal, criminal charges, provincial, King's Bench, you name it, I have been there. All of that is a fortune. And one man cannot do this. Even Donald Trump, as powerful as he is and as wealthy as he is, when he was being attacked by lawfare, he was asking people to chip in and help, because one person cannot fight all the globalist trillionaires by himself. But together, there is no problem, because if everyone chips in a little bit, just a little bit, you don't have to even put a lot, but a little bit, it adds up and enables us to keep fighting with those people. So the book is giving us that opportunity. You can go to streetchurch.ca and help us. There is donate over there as well. And of course, we feed thousands of people on a regular basis, 3 times a week. But the book was written in prison, documenting the whole story, the background story, the get out video, what happened before, what happened after, the trials, the prison, what happened in prison every single day is documented, what I observe. Of course, as you remember, the Canadian government offered me a guaranteed seat at the legislature if I shut my mouth. They offered me a government job if I keep my mouth shut. And then there was coercion. Then there was a blackmail. I was told I'll be assassinated in prison, that the judges bought and paid for. All of that background story, the politicians coming to my home, offering me all kinds of trinkets if I will just shut up about corruption and become like them, compromised. And then, of course, political fixers. Political fixers are people that work for the politicians, and their job is to bribe or to scare you. And while I dealt with them for 3 months, they were telling me if I don't keep my mouth shut and if I will not withdraw myself from the public life for 2 years, I will be assassinated. I was told by the political fixers that the judges bought and paid for. Gordon Krinky, the judge's name is, and he was told to lock me up. So all those things are in prison. But here is a fascinating part of the story. This book has been already confiscated by the Canadian authorities 3 times, and we ordered, of course, a lot of books to come to Canada. And guess what happened? Canadian authorities stopped my book at the border and did not allow the book to come in. So they're scared. They are scared of this book. They are scared of what this book contains. And as you can see, it's a big book. It's 500 pages of documented story, everything. I have not been shying away from letting you know who did this to us. I'm naming the crooked judges. I am naming the police. I am naming the players, the politicians. Of course, there is my lawsuit, which I launched, which is the biggest lawsuit in the history of Canada. I'm suing Attorney General of Canada, police, RCMP, Alberta Health Services, prison for what they've done to me. Metal cages, solitary confinement, the concrete treatment, and isolation, all those different things are in the book. Also, remember, that was the longest ongoing protest outside of prison that was launched by my church, my wife, and my son Nathaniel, and my brother David. And this was a longest ongoing protest outside of prison. They did Jericho marches, they did prayers, they were blasting speakers outside. It was incredible. So all of that, how it happened, what happened, is in the book. And this is the very easy way to help. We're not getting a lot from the book. As you know, you hardly make anything on the books. However, it adds up. It's few dollars here, few dollars there. And when you put all of that together, you can keep fighting. So we've donated the proceeds of the book to keep the lawyers occupied, and without us fighting and pushing. You see, if Donald J. Trump You got such a perfect situation right now in your country. If Donald J. Trump would not fight them, he would never become the president right now. He would be swallowed, destroyed, and eliminated. And that's the story that we have to, learn from. You must engage. You have to fight the enemy. You must resist the devil, the Bible says. You must resist him. If you're not resisting him, you will be taken down. And then he will flee, the Bible says. So I have decided to fight. And of course, I cannot do it alone. One man cannot do it. One family cannot do it. One church cannot do it. But when we come together, we can. This book was confiscated by the Canadian government. We fought to get it back. The manuscript, I'm talking about my write ups in prison, were taken away from me 3 times. We fought to get them back. And eventually, my lawyer smuggled it outside of the prison, and we sent it to the American publishers, and they were brave enough to put it in the form of the book, my manuscript, and we have the Lions Do Not Bow. Also, Lions Do Not Bow is not just a story of poor me, look what they've done to me. Actually, quite opposite. It's a story to not look what they have done to this man. It's a story, look what the mighty things the Lord has done for this man and his family. And that's the story. You have mini sermons there. You've got things, Mary, when you are in solitary confinement hurting, you're very open to hear the voice of the Lord. When, our biggest problem is distraction. We are always distracted by all those different things outside. But when you're in a solitary confinement, I'm telling you, you hear his voice a little bit more clearer than outside. So I have been putting a lots of those mini sermons, and there is of course history. I'm teaching a little bit about history so the people can see that nothing is new under the sun, that we have seen this before, that the evil, wicked people are just copy paste, flipping the pages of the book, How to Become a Tyrant. And
Well, and just to interject, Pastor Artur, the history, because I'm a student of history, the true history, and going back to Poland, if you look at, as you know, you live there, the solidarity movement that rose up with the people that literally were the ones that overthrew the communism in Poland. Is that correct?
100%. I mean, and here is a little bit of a kicker for you. It was done with the help of Americans, because you got to remember, Ronald Reagan was in 1987 outside of the Berlin Wall, speaking his famous line, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Mary, you got to remember, me and my wife, we were on the other side of that fence, of that wall. We were under the boots of the Soviets at that time. 2 years later, with the help of the Americans, the Berlin Wall has fallen, Iron Curtain was broken, and Europe was liberated. And that's why God is saying, tell this great American eagle that it's time to rise up once again, because you've done it before and God wants you to do it again. So my saying is this. It's quite simple. I simplify things. If one man did it, that means another man can do it as well. If before us a generation rose to the occasion and fought for the God and state given rights and they succeeded, that means we can do it as well. They liberated us, now we can liberate the next generation. And I always say to the people that if you don't want to fight for yourself, okay, fine, but you have to rise up and fight for the next generation, for the children, for our grandchildren. What kind of a nation, what kind of a world we're going to pass it to them starts today. Today, we are making that decision, what kind of future they're going to have. So the Lions Do Not Bow will have a lots of those different things to let you know that it's not only possible to rise up and win, others did it already. Courage is contagious. We have to understand that what they did to us in the past 4 years, they blanketed the whole earth with terror, with fear. What we have to do is we have to blanket the entire earth with boldness, with courage, with faith, with hope, with love. And what is love if not doing the right thing? Actually, the Bible says that if you know how to do good and you choose not to, it's a sin to you. So it's our time. And the book was released. Here is a powerful story within the story. The book was released on November 11th. November 11th. Why is this so remarkable? Because it's a Veterans Day in United States of America. It's the Remembrance Day in my country here, Canada. But also, it's the Independence Day in Poland. Poland disappeared from the map of the world for 123 years, and then it came back, and Polish people celebrate the Independence Day on November 11th. And I asked my publishers who chose this day, and say, well, it was just randomly chosen. It just kind of, that's how they roll, this 6-week pre-order and this and that, and it fell on November 11th. And you see, Meri, I believe God is God of symbols. I believe that he chose this day because the book is about standing up for what's right, fighting for what's right, fighting for the future, fighting for God and state given rights. And God released this on November 11th. Within the first day, we've sold out, and the Canadian government put a cap on the story. So they are fighting me like crazy. Now we have the books available again, and we are bypassing the censors, we're bypassing the customs, and the book for the Canadian people is coming from another avenue, all legal, but it's bypassing the customs. It's coming directly to the people. It's a war. They are fighting it. So the one way you can help us to fight them is get the book. And I always say to the people, give it to your enemies. And maybe they will hate you even more. Maybe they will love you because there is a gospel in the book.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor Artur. And the number 11 is the number of transition. And we are in a transition. Tomorrow is 12/12, which actually 12 is the number of government. Some of you might be watching this, of course, after these dates. But I'm doing an event down in Southern California called the 12 Days of Christmas. God is establishing government. It says, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, Jesus. And, Pastor Artur, I know so much about his family because I've been around him, but he's got a son. We won't get into that now, but his son, Nathaniel, means gift. And really, it was such a miracle about what God did with his son, which we won't get into now. We'll have another show about that. But how God healed his son, in the hospital, which brought Pastor Artur to the Lord. And so it's just such an amazing story. His whole family, his wife, his stance on, standing strong for God. Lions do not bow. So please go and get that, or visit streetchurch.ca and make an end of the year donation to him and to their church. They feed thousands of people, and it's amazing. A man of God who I honor to be called my brother. Is there any last things you want to say before we close today, Pastor Artur?
Yeah, as we are heading to this, for me personally, a very joyful and amazing season. I love Christmas. And of course, we know Jesus was not born that day, but I love the opportunities that we have, that we can share with people about our Christ, our Lord. When you go to shop, different stores and malls, and you hear, songs about Jesus coming and dwelling among us. I just want you to know that if you feel alone, or if you, for whatever reason, you're not so joyful because of circumstances and difficulties, I want you to know that God has never left you. He has never forsaken you. He loves you, and he died for you, and he rose from the grave just for you. He had you on his heart, on his mind. And I want you to know that even though sometimes we may be going through difficulties, sometimes God is using the difficulties for his glory. And if we will go, even if I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, because God is walking there with me. You will, if you keep walking, you will go to the other side. So I just want to bless you in the name of Jesus. And those that are hurting, I pray that God would comfort you, that God would give you peace and an understanding that He has never left you. And for those that are not facing difficulties, I want you to pay attention to those that are going through difficult moments. Just have your heart, your mind open, and don't just focus on yourself and your family. Pay attention to those that are outside, because I know the kingdom of God, and the kingdom of God is a perpetual blessing. You receive the blessing to give that blessing to others. It's a never ending cycle of blessing. So be a blessing to others. And I know that God will greatly reward you for that as well. And there is a lot of hurting people out there. So just pay attention, because I know that God is going to use you in this season for a purpose. So be blessed, stay strong, and remember the victory on November the 5th is just the beginning. It's not the end. The enemy has not stopped attacking. Enemy has plans to hurt us and our families. We must be vigilant, and we must keep plowing and putting that seed into the ground. So be blessed, stay strong, and keep flapping your wings.
Yes, thank you so much, Pastor Artur. Well, like I said, I'm just getting over this voice. I've got a hoarse voice, but you know what? We have to continue moving ahead no matter what the enemy tries to throw at us. And, it says, as we come to this time of giving, even it says that God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. So let's continue to give. You can give to Pastor Artur by buying his book, Lions Do Not Bow. And, you can go to his website as well, streetchurch.ca. Or you can also go to my website, which I have we do various events around the country. The next event we're going to be doing is actually tomorrow on 12/12 in Southern California, called 12 Days of Christmas at Harbor Light Church. At my website, it has that flyer. But also we're going to be doing Open the Heavens conferences around the country, which I'd like Pastor Artur to come. We're going to be looking at doing it in March, and we will let you know where that venue is. But remember, now is the time. We have to take action. As I'm here in LA or Hollywood, they say lights, camera, action. We've got to take back what the enemy has stole, and not just create a void or a vacuum, but we have to fill it with these movies that we create, with these governmental things that we do for the kingdom. And we have to take the kingdom by force. That's what Jesus said. The kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force, meaning we have to take back what the enemy stole. So listen, and that's what Pastor Artur has been doing all along. And he's feeding the poor. He's doing a number of other things. And I have a copy of his book. It's amazing. You all need to get it and read it. God bless you all. I love you all. And we will see you soon on the next broadcast. Please follow, subscribe, share this with as many people as you can, and really continue to buy this as a Christmas gift. Give it to somebody. His book, Lions Do Not Bow. It's an incredible, amazing story of one man who has courage and is not afraid to fight back. So thank you so much, Pastor Artur. Love you. Say hi to your wife and your children, and we will be in touch soon. God bless. Thanks for watching.
God bless you.